Title: I almost died today by my mistake. I don't know how to mentally deal with it.
Oof.
I almost died today. I got my license 2 weeks ago. I am a learner driver. I was driving home from school. There's a railroad crossing in front of our house. When I was at it, I didn't notice that the light was red. The moment I crossed it, about 10 meters away, a train was coming at me, and I must have missed it by about a half a meter. I reached my house paralyzed. My dad angrily ran out of the house, not believing what happened. I sat in the car for 20 minutes, blaming myself for what happened. How could I miss something like that? I have the sight of the train in my head. I'm in shock. I don't know how to cope with the near-death experience. I'm extremely ashamed of myself.
That is terrifying.
That is definitely scary, but I think it's just like, I think it happens because, truthfully, sometimes I'm like, was that light green?
Yeah, I do that
Right?
too.
So it's just like, I'm like, how the fuck did you not see that?
Like-
You know how, like, but railroads are like, oh my god, it's coming down
Yeah.
like the gates, and then it's flashing red.
Yeah.
But, like, I also don't blame him or her. Sometimes I'll be so into my driving and be like,
Was that
I
light
zone out
red or
too.
green? I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
don't remember what-
I always
was that
tend
light
to
green?
look back and I'm like, okay, the cars behind me are still going behind me, so that means it was green. But sometimes I'm just like, I do think to myself, like,
yeah.
Same
fuck,
thing.
was that green?
Yep.
Like, did I just run a red light?
Yeah.
Same thing.
But then if there's no red light camera, I'm like, whatever.
This story made me think of the time that I felt like I almost died driving my car. I've told Tracy this a few times.
Okay.
But when I lived in Waterloo, I used to go to work in Cambridge. And anybody who lives in Toronto, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's a main highway that goes from Cambridge, and it takes you up into the Waterloo-Kitchener area. During the time that I lived there, they were doing construction. There's this one main part where when you're coming from Cambridge and you're going up into Waterloo, essentially goes down a giant hill and then goes back up the giant hill. Coincidentally enough, I actually got rear-ended at like almost the same spot on the opposite side of the road. And then the next car got rear-ended. That car got ridden off. The next car, I got a brand new car. Or not a brand new car. I got like a new car, same old little piece of shit BMW, but it was new to me. And it came with brand new all-season tires on it.
Perfect.
So I thought my tires were going to be good for like 4 years. So I go through all through the winter. And then in the springtime, I'm heading to work on a Saturday morning. And the car was always like really sketchy in the rain or thick snow, like super sketchy. You know when you're driving on the highway and there's rain and it's not like it's pouring out, but it's heavy and you can kind of see the tire marks. It's kind of like less water, and then where the tires aren't, there's kind of like a little bit of higher water. And when you're changing lanes and your wheels touch that like higher little bit of water, your car kind of gets a little shaky.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to change lanes because I was super sketched out about getting outside of these watery tire marks. Mm-hmm. So when you're coming south on the highway from Waterloo, the slow lane merges and automatically becomes the fast lane on the next highway. And then it comes down this downhill, and the construction was going on, and there was this part where like the road was like angled, so it wasn't smooth. There was like a really sharp dip. So when the suspension hits it, the suspension goes boom. You like kind of like bottom out, like it's like the sharp angle. And I'm already like not trying to change lanes. I am so terrified because every time I kind of change lanes, the car gets like squirrely. So I'm doing just 100, bare minimum. I'm in the fast lane. I think I was actually doing like 90. And I was like just going so slow. And I came to that boom. And the rear wheel just slipped out from underneath me. So it's a 5-lane wide highway. I'm in the fast lane. The car goes, rear end comes to the right a little bit. And then it comes back to the left. I'm trying to counter steer. Comes to the left like almost full ways, and then it whips back to the right, goes about 3 or 4 lanes over to the right, does a full 360. I'm staring back at 5 lanes of traffic of lights. It's like 7 a.m., so it's not like super thick, but there's enough around me that I almost hit a car. Full 360, comes back around, I'm facing the right direction, and I'm able to like get the car to stop skidding, and now we're losing pace, so it's like 60 kilometers an hour or something like that. Car's shut off, and I pull it in between the yellow line of the fast lane and the Jersey barrier in the middle, the concrete barrier in the middle. There's always like one car length between the fast lane and the barrier.
Yep.
And I'm just stopped sitting there, shaking, shitting my
course,
pants.
yeah.
I just did a full 360
On a highway.
On a fast highway, cars all around, and I'm just like, holy fuck. I sat there for like 5 minutes, and eventually I started the car up, and I got to work. I had kind of been late to work a few times, so my boss was kind of like not happy that I'm late again. And since I was like, all right, well, there's a Tim's right before the work, I'm already 5 minutes late. I'm already going to get in trouble. I might as well get my food so that I'm not starving.
Of course.
So I go to Tim's. I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to be 7 more minutes late. Like, whatever. I'm already late. I'm already getting in trouble. I'm getting food. I go in Tim's. I go inside. No drive-thru. I go inside. I'm ordering. And the guy in front of me, he's like, talking to this person ahead of him. He's like, dude, you wouldn't believe it. I'm driving along this highway. This car in front of me flips out, spins out in front of me, does a full 360. I thought he was going to crash into another car or the barrier. He doesn't. And then he like, I drive on by as he's like spinning behind me. I check my rear view mirror and he like pulled it into the side. And I was just like,
That's me.
I was like, holy shit, you saw that? That was me. He's like, what the fuck?
Like the Four Seasons baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my boss was like, why are you late? And I had to explain
Wow.
that. I had to
Dying,
explain that
boss.
to him. Yeah.
Wild.
Intense.
I don't think I've ever had any near-death experiences. Thank God. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood,
Why
please.
did I say that?
Yeah.
Am I the asshole for dating my dad's ex-wife?
Ew.
Ew.
My dinner's going up again.
When I was around 11 or 12, I stumbled upon some old photos of my dad's first wife, Laura, while I was rummaging through the attic. Most of them were pretty ordinary, but a few showed her in lingerie.
Ooh.
As an awkward preteen, I felt guilty and confused, but those pictures left a mark. Laura ended up becoming one of my first serious crushes. Though I never talked about it to anyone. I eventually put the photos back, but I couldn't really forget them. Now, I'm 22 and recently moved back home after finishing university. My dad cleans out the attic and I came across those photos again. This time, instead of just feeling awkward, I felt a surge of curiosity. Laura had always been a bit of a mystery in our family. My dad didn't talk too much about her, and my mom definitely wasn't keen on bringing her up. So, being the curious person I am, I decided to look Laura up on Facebook, and it felt a bit weird at first, but after thinking it over, I sent her a message. We started chatting, and to my surprise, we just clicked instantly. She was warm, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in catching up. We ended up meeting for coffee, and soon enough, we were meeting regularly. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, we were dating. I know it sounds strange, but the connection between us was felt natural, even though she's my dad's ex-wife. I really like her, and she seems to feel the same way. Eventually, I decided to tell my parents about our relationship. My dad's reaction was hard to read. He looked shocked. My mom just stared at me, like I'd completely lost the plot.
Yeah.
Since then...
Yeah, duh.
Since then, things have been really tense at home. My dad even asked me if I was doing this to get back at him for something, which I thought was pretty unfair. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, I just genuinely care about Laura. But now, I'm starting to worry that I've crossed a line. I didn't mean to make things so uncomfortable for my parents, but I can't change how I feel. Laura and I are happy together, and I think she would be someone really special in my life. But I don't want to destroy my relationship with my family over this. My mom wants me to break up with her, but I just don't want to. Am I wrong? Alright, so I got an update for you guys.
Alright.
So this comes a week later. Hey everyone, I wanted to give you an update on my situation since my last post. A lot has changed over the past week, and I've had some time to reflect on everything that's happened. So, after the initial shock of telling my parents about my relationship with Laura, things at home became really tense.
Duh.
Literally duh. Like,
I could sense the strain every time I walked into a room, and it was getting harder to be there. My dad and I hardly spoke, and when we did, it was awkward and stilted. My mom wasn't much better. She mostly avoided me altogether. I never wanted to hurt them, though. But I also knew that I couldn't keep living under the same roof while things were so strange. That's why I decided to move out. It wasn't an easy decision, but I realized that for my own sanity and to give my parents some space, it was the best thing to do. And it just so happened that Laura offered me a place to stay, and I have been living with her for a few days now. I have to say, I have never felt more at peace. Laura has been nothing but kind and supportive through all of this. I honestly never felt love like this before. She's always looking out for me, making sure I'm okay, and just being an all-around amazing partner. It's such a relief to be with someone who genuinely cares about me and makes me feel valued. As for my relationship with my parents, it's definitely more strained than ever. My dad seems to think I'm doing this to spite him, which couldn't be farther from the truth. I really wish he could see that I'm just trying to follow my heart here. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I just want to be happy, and Laura makes me happy. I haven't given up on the possibilities of repairing things with my parents, but I know it's going to take time. Right now, I'm focusing on my relationship with Laura and taking things one day at a time. I'm hoping that with a bit of distance, my parents will come around and see that this isn't some sort of vendetta. It's just me being my true, authentic self. I still love them, and I don't want this to be the end of our relationship. I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see how things unfold. Thanks again for all the comments and advice, even the tough ones. I know not everyone agrees with what I'm doing, but I appreciate the different perspectives.
Am I the asshole for reporting my coworker to HR for using the office fridge to store her homemade lunches, which led to her trying to get me fired? Well, here we go again. A few weeks ago, I noticed that it was getting harder and harder to find a space for my lunch. The fridge was always crammed full, and I soon realized that one of my coworkers, Anna, was using it to store a bunch of homemade lunches she sells to other employees. Anna is a great cook, and her lunches are popular. She brings in about 15 pre-made meals every day, storing them in the fridge until people pick them up throughout the day. At first, I didn't think much of it, but it started to become a real problem when there was barely any room left for anyone else's food. I decided to talk to Anna, suggesting that she might consider using a cooler or finding another way to store her meals since the fridge was meant for everyone. She didn't take it well. She got defensive, saying that her food was in high demand and that she had every right to use the fridge. She even hinted that if I wanted more space, I should start buying her lunches instead of bringing my own. Hustler.
Yeah.
Things escalated when I couldn't fit my lunch in the fridge for several days in a row. I finally decided to report the situation to HR. They spoke to Anna, and she was told to limit how much space she uses in the fridge. That's when things took a turn. Anna was furious with me and made it her mission to make my life at work miserable. She started spreading rumors about me, telling people that I was jealous of her success and trying to sabotage her business. Then she took it a step further. Anna went to HR and claimed that I was harassing her and creating a hostile work environment. She even got a couple of her friends in the office to back her up, lying about things I supposedly said and did. HR called me in for a meeting to address the complaints, and I was blindsided. I had no idea she was plotting to get me fired. Luckily, I had documented my interactions with Anna and was able to prove that her claim was false. HR ended up dismissing the complaints against me, but the damage was done. The whole situation has left me feeling isolated at work, and now a lot of my coworkers see me as the bad guy, thanks to Anna's lies. So, am I the asshole for reporting her in the first place, or did I just make things worse for myself by not handling it differently?
It's a hard
I'm
one.
split on this one.
Yeah.
Really?
See, at first, I was like, okay, Anna's the asshole. She's taking up all this room on the fridge for this side business, which most companies don't like anybody to try and
Right?
be making their own business money inside of their business. But then I thought about it, and I was like, wait a second. Who is she selling the food to? Is she only selling the food to other people that work there? Because if that's the case, who's taking up the fridge space? Her or all of the other people that work there?
Oh.
The fridge is for them too. And that work, why are they not allowed to have their food in that fridge?
That is an interesting point.
They asked, take the money out of the equation. That's a secret, dirty little secret. She's making money. Her friend is bringing my lunch to work. Do they not have a right to have their lunch food in the fridge with her? For them? So that's where I'm torn. Because I'm like,
Interesting.
okay, yes, I don't think somebody should get to take over their fridge for their side business, but their side business is for everybody else in the office. So technically, that food is other people's lunches in the office. It's almost the same thing as if they
were
brought
to
it
bring
in.
their own
Yeah.
lunch. Yes.
It sounds like the office doesn't have enough fridge space if everybody brings in their lunch. That sounds like an office problem.
Well, top comment. If these lunches are being consumed by your colleagues the same day, then the real issue is that your workplace needs a second fridge. Everyone's lunches
Oh
should
yeah,
fit.
Denver. Oh yeah.
That's what I'm
Bullseye.
saying. Boom.